We remember the night the sky broke, not as mortals do, not as a story whispered by trembling tongues, but as the land itself remembers, in the way the mountains shuddered and the rivers forgot their own reflection. The stars had always watched us. They were the first eyes that ever opened above the dark, long before names and prayers and breath. We called them gods because we needed to, but they were older than belief, older than fear. They were the pulse of what was once infinite, and their light was how the world knew it was still alive. And then, one night, the light began to fall. It began softly. A shimmer here, a drifting spark there, the heavens exhaling motes of silver dust. The first to notice were the oceans. They lifted their tides toward the sky, reaching like children toward departing parents. The air grew heavy with memory. We, the realm, felt it in every root and stone and ripple. The heartbeat of the stars faltered, and the silence that followed was not empty. It was waiting. From the peaks of Valerian, the mountain that touched the breath of the firmament, came a wind unlike any that had ever existed. It was cold, not with death, but with absence. The feeling of something eternal deciding to let go. The gods did not scream. They did not fall in anger or pain. They simply dimmed. One by one, their fires went out, each leaving behind a whisper that echoed through the void. We, the realm, heard them. Every hill and stream and whispering grove heard them. Their voices were not words, but feelings. Sorrow made into music, light folded into farewell. We are not dying, they sang. We are remembering how to end. And so the stars began to fall. They fell not like stones, but like tears, slow, luminous, filled with everything they had ever been. They crossed the skies in trails of molten gold and silver, shattering the veil between heaven and earth. Wherever they struck, new rivers of light unfurled, seeping into the soil like veins of living fire. Forests glowed, mountains bled radiance. The air became a mirror, reflecting everything that had ever lived or loved. But with each fallen star, a god disappeared. Their temples turned to dust mid-prayer. Their names faded from the mouths of those who still whispered them. Even the air that carried their echoes seemed to dissolve. We, the realm, tried to hold them. Every stone arch and trembling wave stretched upward to cradle what fell. But how can the finite hold the infinite? The stars slipped through our embrace, dissolving into color too beautiful to describe. The creatures who dwelled within us, the riverborn, the shadowless, the keepers of wind, gathered in awe and terror. They watched as constellations collapsed like lungs exhaling for the last time. And still, we heard the gods singing. Their final harmony rippled across existence, and we felt it not in the sky, but in ourselves, for we had been born of them, fragments of their dreaming. Do not mourn us, they whispered through the trembling air. We are becoming the silence you once feared, and from that silence, you will be born again. The last star fell over the plains of Vailora, a sea of crystal grass where sound itself refracted into color. The fall split the horizon, half night, half radiance. For a heartbeat, the entire realm saw everything. Every moment, every memory, every life entwined like threads in a tapestry too vast for understanding. And then, stillness. No wind, no sound. Only the echo of light fading into the bones of the world. When dawn came, it was not dawn at all. The sun rose without reflection, for there were no stars left to mirror it. The sky was empty, vast and aching, like a wound too wide for the clouds to cover. Yet beneath that emptiness, we felt something stirring. The stars had not died. They had become us. Where they fell, the ground glowed softly. Not bright enough to burn, not dim enough to forget. Seeds of light sank into soil, into rivers, into the hearts of those who still wandered the silent plains. In time, new beings emerged. Not gods, not mortals, but something in between. The Lumeri, we called them, children of fallen starlight, born from the memory of divinity and the longing of earth. Their skin shimmered faintly in darkness, and their eyes held constellations that no longer existed. They could hear the echoes of the gods, faint songs woven beneath the pulse of creation. They spoke softly, as though afraid to wake the silence. We watched them wander, wondering if they would rebuild what had been lost, or simply live within the echo. Generations passed. The sky remained quiet. But sometimes, on nights when the wind forgot to move, the Lumeri would stand upon the hills and lift their faces upward, whispering names they had never learned yet somehow remembered. And in those moments, faint lights flickered in the void above, not stars reborn, but memories answering the call. We, the realm, felt those flickers and knew the gods had never truly left. They had become everywhere, every stream that shimmered with moonlight, every grain of sand that caught the dawn, every shadow that trembled before warmth. Their fall had not been an end, it had been a return. Still, the memory of that night lingers in our bones. Even now, eons later, when the air grows still and the mountains hum softly in their sleep, we remember the feeling of the heavens unraveling. We remember the beauty of it, the impossible grace of light dissolving into silence. Sometimes we wish they had stayed. Sometimes we wish the sky would break again, just to remind us that we are still part of something vast. But perhaps this is what the gods wanted, for the realm to ache, to remember, to dream. For the stars to live not above us, but within us. And so we keep watching. Every night, though the heavens are empty, we look upward. We, the mountains, the rivers, the sands, the breath of unseen forests. We lift our gaze toward the silence and wait, because deep within that silence we can still hear them, faint, steady, eternal. We never left. You are what remains of our light. And when the winds move again, carrying whispers across the sleeping plains, we almost believe that one day the stars will return, not as gods, not as distant fires, but as something new, the memory of all that was sacred, learning how to breathe again.